Hello, and welcome to another episode of Monday Mindfulness. In the last few weeks, especially, I've been sharing a lot in our classes of practices that revolve around exploring beliefs and really looking at what are the layers of beliefs that build up our perspectives and our perceptions. And at the end of it, I feel like a broken record, but it's so valuable and true for me is the self-awareness at the heart of it. So realizing who is holding these beliefs and who is perceiving these perceptions of reality. So the topic that I'd love to share a meditation focused on today is around beliefs and exploring beliefs. And I thought I would share something that I haven't done that much of in these classes. I thought that I'd actually show up here and share a session that is a little bit different to what I'm actually sharing. I thought we'd dive into the actual structure of belief and get into some really juicy things that are causing us suffering in our day-to-day lives. And you can definitely do that. But I also felt it was valuable just now as I went to sit down and share this, to look at some of the simple ways that our perspective can be filtered. And one thing that I noticed and this is where this idea came from, or this feeling of the meditation that we should share, is I had a feeling that I'd come up here and I knew that I had a t-shirt on under my coat because it's cold here in Romania right now. And I had this idea that, yeah, it's going to be cold and I'm going to be a bit freezing out there, upstairs filming this video. And then I realized, who is holding this belief? How do I really know what it's going to feel when I get up there? I may have a rough idea. And I had this feeling and this resistance that was layered on top of the feeling. So I had a feeling like it would be cold up here. I could even feel the coldness on my skin. But then at the same time, there was this filtering of resistance on top of that, like not really wanting to get in there and take that off. And it was like I didn't even have the perception of going in to get a jumper. I was just resisting the whole situation, which was an interesting belief system that was sitting there, and it was running its cycle. And if it didn't get explored, it would just take an action and move on. And that's why exploring and identifying these belief systems are so powerful, because it means that we're not on autopilot anymore. With awareness, we have a choice. And if we let all of these belief systems go unexplored, it means that we're on autopilot and not wanting to question it. And I think there's some amazing belief systems that are very productive in life. And even this one about the cold is really valuable. Like, it does feel a little bit cold, especially down the back of my arms right now. And I feel a little bit of cold on my hands, but it's not the life-threatening cold that my belief system had made it out to be, that my fear response and everything was indicating. So it's just interesting to be able to be honest with ourselves in that. And for me, there's been a deep humility in questioning my beliefs and looking at the sources of them, looking at where they've come from, looking at what their motivations are, looking at what they're actually saying to me, like listening and feeling them rather than wanting to run away from them and not question that, just keep running away from the boogeyman kind of thing. So there's been a huge liberation and a huge honesty with myself in being able to question those beliefs. And now it feels like no belief isn't on the table. Like it's free reign on all beliefs here. It's belief season, and it's not that they're bad things. I find it really important when I'm doing this kind of practice to be able to meet these beliefs and these perspectives in an open, loving place, the same way as meeting the ego. It's really valuable to, or I believe it's very valuable. If we don't actually meet them in a loving space, then we can have an interesting dynamic. It's not better or worse, it's just the experience. But I believe that that meeting these beliefs in a really loving place means that we can get a good look at them, and they don't need to get slippery or start to get into denial or defend themselves or anything like this. So I find it valuable to be able to just feel them, just notice the details, notice what's happening there, and be able to just learn from these experiences and stay with them long enough so that we're comfortable with what we're feeling, and we allow it to settle and kind of stabilize and really speak to us, because then we can make choices. And we can start to get some perspective on what was really happening there. I know a lot of my beliefs are all about a perception of separation. A lot of my beliefs, when I explore them, and well, actually, a lot of my suffering beliefs, a lot of the ones that cause, stress, anxiety, all kinds of discomfort, turmoil, conflict, a lot of that is my separation beliefs coming out. So there's these layers of beliefs where it could be about, me deserving certain things, this body deserving certain things. And then underneath that, there might be a belief that that certain groups of people deserve certain things. And underneath that, there may be a belief that somebody doesn't deserve certain things, and underneath that, as I said, there may be a belief of separation, where I believe that this mind and body are independent and somehow more or less deserving of something than other minds and bodies. So it's just interesting to be able to observe and witness some of these things, and to just allow them to land without needing to judge ourselves. Just seeing, man, this is what I believed. And there can be many, many different ways of picking up a belief. It's like picking up a cold in winter. They're everywhere. So it's just it's been so liberating for me to be able to be more and more aware of beliefs, and be able to dance in them, and embrace them, and learn from them, and question them, and just really have that open-hearted dynamic with them. And rather than being a cause of a lot of discomfort, they've actually been great teachers for me when they're embraced and looked at and learned from. So, beliefs and meditating on beliefs. Okay, as I said, I was very tempted to pick a really intense emotion that's been coming up lately, a discomfort, something that's been bugging you or triggering you, and you're more than welcome to dive into that in this practice. And what I'm feeling to do is give you another option of cold, for example, which is my hands and arms right now. So just your perception of cold. Do you have a belief that cold is good? Do you have a belief that cold is bad? Do you have a belief that cold is dangerous? And are there beliefs in good, bad, and dangerous for warmth? Just noticing what's happening there. You can close your eyes down. Noticing the level of temperature on the skin right now. Noticing if the mind wants to tell a story about that temperature. Depending on how you perceive cold or warmth, how does the mind compare that to an uncomfortable temperature? Is there a feeling of importance that the mind is putting on something? This is all a natural mechanism, often a self-protection mechanism. It's not something that's good or bad. It just is a way for us to filter what we perceive. So just noticing if your mind is comparing it to a uncomfortable heat or cold. Is there a story that's being layered? Noticing how it feels in the body. And if the mind wants to make more stories about it, noticing if the body responds and reacts. Notice any little movement of the mind. So noticing if there's a level of importance on this temperature, on this belief. Noticing how strong that belief feels, how important it feels. Noticing if there's a belief that actually makes it important, more or less important than something else. Just noticing. Noticing if this belief has a defense mechanism. When we watch it, is there something that wants to protect and defend this belief? Is there a story that wants to run? That wants to try to make a case, wants to try to make something right or wrong? Just noticing. Noticing if there's layers of beliefs. Is there a reason why a particular belief is the way it is? And is that a separate belief in itself? Is this a belief that you just take for granted as true? Is it one that changes from time to time? Do you have evidence to prove that this belief is true? Or is the belief as true as we think it is? Is the levels or the stages as extreme or as loose as what we believe they are? Noticing what is holding that belief in place. Is there a supporting belief underneath it? Did we learn this belief from somewhere? Or did we experience it from ourselves? Is the belief something we've learned? Is it a reaction to an experience? Or is it something that we've consistently observed? Is there exceptions to the belief? Noticing how tightly or loosely that belief is held. Noticing if there's anything supporting it. Do we have layers of beliefs, or are we at the core of it? Is there a reason why you hold this belief? Feel for it. Being really honest with yourself. What is the motivation for holding this belief? How tightly do I need to hold on to it? Do I need to hold on to it at all? staying with it. And noticing who was holding the belief. Can you observe who was holding the belief? Can you feel who was holding the belief? Do they have a character, an emotional signature to them? Noticing the qualities of the belief holder. And just noticing all of these details of he who holds the belief. The complete experience. Breathing into it. Allowing that to evolve, move, be still, whatever it needs to be. Just witnessing the belief holder. And now noticing who is witnessing the belief holder. Who is conscious of the belief holder? What is it that witnesses the belief holder? Breathing into it. Who is it that's witnessing the breath? Who is it that's witnessing the whole mind and body? Just witnessing the whole experience. keeping that wide perspective, noticing if you do come into a thought, what's happening with that thought? Is there a belief holder there? And can we witness who is watching the belief holder? Noticing the witness. And now keeping that perspective, starting to slowly bring movement to the hands, movement to the toes, just witnessing the experience of the body. Slowly giving your body any stretches, any movement it needs. And in your own time, opening up the eyes, moving slow enough that we don't need to rush anything right now. So that's an example of diving in and exploring some belief structure. And this is something that I did long sits of at first. And I still do sometimes do sits of looking at belief structures, but for me, it became easier as I did more and more of it. So I could more quickly dive in and really embrace and explore beliefs when I was used to it, when I had some practice. So feel free to explore as your beliefs guide you. And yeah, I hope this can really bring you some liberation and health and happiness like it has for me. So I hope you have a fantastic week. And yeah, thank you for joining us. Ciao.